In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to draft the perfect contractual notification. Let's draft a contractual notification from scratch. For this example, we are going to take into consideration the compensation event which was recorded in ER number 1000, which happens to be the same ER I created in an earlier video tutorial. This heading is just for your information. When you issue a contractual notification to the client, you wouldn't have this at the top of your letter. The main subclause reference is 4.12. This is related to unforeseeable physical conditions including natural physical conditions, man-made or other physical obstructions, pollutants, including subsurface and hydrological conditions, but it excludes climatic conditions. Obviously, this is a notice of claim for extension of time and additional payment, and this is letter number 1. You would need to send a second contractual notification after you receive instructions from the engineer on how to proceed. The real letter starts from here. It will be issued to the engineer and copied to the employer. All contractual notifications should be sent to the official address stated in the contract with a copy to the employer. The employer's address should be identical to the one included in the contract document as well. The next element, and probably the most important one, is the date. Under most standard forms of contract, the contractor is obliged to issue a notification within a certain period. Under the FIDIC form of contract, it is 28 days after the contractor became aware or should have become aware of the delay event or circumstance. So that's the date. Next, you have to insert a letter reference. It's extremely important. You'd be surprised to know how many letters are still issued without any reference whatsoever. It can create a lot of problems. The next section is related to all the relevant contractual clauses related to the compensation event. Now, a lot of people like to include contractual references within the body of the letter. That's fine. I like to include it right at the top so that there is no confusion whatsoever about the contractual clauses I intend to rely on. For good measure, I like to repeat some of the clause references within the body of the letter. So for this particular event, I'm relying on 4 subclauses related to the definition of the word unforeseeable, then unforeseeable physical conditions, followed by an extension of time under subclause 8.4b and contractor's claims under subclause 20.1. The next section you don't see very often, but it's extremely important as well. It's related to any relevant legal references pertaining to the governing law of your contract, such as any local statutory law which may override your contractual terms and conditions, or it may be pertinent to the compensation event at hand. Now it's time to start the letter. The subject heading is also very important. Make sure that each and every one of your claim has a number and description associated with it, a unique number. And you should also state very clearly that the letter is a notification of a claim for an extension of time and or additional payment. But please do remember that an entitlement to an extension of time does not mean that you're automatically entitled to prolongation costs as well. Start the letter by giving a brief description of the event. So here we are saying that we've encountered an unforeseen physical condition. Insert the date of the event and the location of the event. Please make sure that it all ties up with the ER which we created, which was ER number 1000. Now it's time to enter details about the cause of the event. So we can say that during excavation operations, we encountered hard material, which upon further investigation turned out to be rocky strata. We could not have reasonably foreseen the presence of hard rock in this area because the geological data provided at tender stage did not contain any information about rocky strata. This description is identical to the information we entered in ER number 1000. It's important to be consistent whenever you're submitting a claim. Next, we have to enter details about the effect of the event. So we can go on to say that due to the discovery of the rocky strata, we were obliged to cease excavation operations at the above location. Please note that we do not have the requisite equipment to excavate this type of material. and as a result, there's going to be delay and disruption to the works. Please do add as much information as you possibly can. Impact to the subclause 8.3 program. This is extremely important. You have to identify the activity which was affected by the compensation event. I've seen a lot of contractual notifications which do not contain this important piece of information. So please do make sure that you enter all the requisite data related to the compensation event's effect on any activity in the program. If you go back to our ER sheet, you'll see that the planning manager has already entered this data, and if he hasn't, please remind him to do so. Next, mitigation measures. In general, a contractor is obliged to mitigate delay and cost, but this does not equate to spending additional sums of money. However, any reasonable sums expended for mitigation measures undertaken to reduce serious losses is recoverable under most jurisdictions. So we could state exactly what we said in our ER, which is, insofar as possible, we have reallocated resources from the affected section to other areas on site. However, it was not possible to productively redistribute all plant and labor to other locations. Therefore, in addition to unallocated idle resources, reallocated resources also suffered disruption and loss of productivity. Next, insert some information about contemporary records. The contractor is obliged to maintain contemporary records as may be necessary to substantiate any claim, either on site or at another location acceptable to the engineer. So you could state, pursuant to the requirements of subclause 20.1, we are maintaining contemporary records in order to substantiate the claim which will be submitted in due course. The engineer and/or his authorized representatives are invited to inspect said records and advise of any additional requirements, if any. In order to corroborate our claim, please find attached photographs, copies of relevant drawings, and other pertinent documentation related to this event. Normally, it will take time for the project team to start collating contemporary records, so you may not have a lot of contemporary records at the time of submitting a contractual notification, but it's absolutely essential to start organizing your contemporary records as soon as possible. We will conclude the contractual notification with a section which clearly states that this letter is a notice of claim. So we could say that please accept this letter as a notification of claim pursuant to subclause 4.12 of the contract. As a result of the above event, it is submitted that we are entitled to claim for an extension of time and additional payment in accordance with subclause 20.1 of the contract. Now, as mentioned earlier, a claim could result in an extension of time and, if applicable, recovery of prolongation costs and reasonable profit plus potential disruption costs, or it could just be a claim for additional payment without an extension of time. It could be a disruption claim. So that's this section here. And finally, the letter should be signed by the contractor's authorized representative in accordance with subclause 4.3. And please include any enclosures or chronology of correspondence if this letter is part of an ongoing issue. Since this is our first contractual notification, we won't be having any additional correspondence to attach, but we will be having a follow-on contractual notification and submission of interim particulars. And when those documents are submitted, it is imperative to include details of all related correspondence. After the compensation event has ceased to have an impact on the project, the ER sheet should be closed, and now it's time to fully substantiate your claim and submit detailed particulars to the engineer. So we're going to call it our contractual letter number 6, submission of detailed claim and supporting particulars. The initial part of the letter will be exactly the same as we had before. So I won't be repeating it. It's a letter to the engineer, copy to the employer, date, contractual and legal references. And then we come on to the main body of the letter. Very important to maintain the claim number and description. And you could say something to the effect that we refer to the contractual notification sent in relation to the above claim. Insert date and reference. Your next paragraph could state that please be advised that the claim has ceased to have an effect on the project, and in accordance with the requirements of subclause 20.1, we have appended herewith a fully detailed claim and supporting particulars, including the following. First, comprehensive details about the contractual basis of the claim. 2, a delay analysis of the program, which demonstrates a critical delay to the contract completion date and resultant extension of time to the project completion date. Third, particularized information about our entitlement to additional payment. And fourth, detailed supporting particulars and contemporary records. You could then go on to say that, pursuant to the requirements of subclause 20.1, we look forward to the following: receiving the engineer's response on the principles of this claim within 42 days, inclusion in the next payment certificate, amounts substantiated in the attached claim, and the engineer's determination of our entitlements pursuant to subclause 3.5 of the contract. Once again, it should be signed by the contractor's authorized representative, and please attach all relevant enclosures and chronology of correspondence related to this event. And with that, we come to the end of this video tutorial. In my next presentation, I'll demonstrate how to set up a claims record control system on your C drive, local server, and SharePoint.